Hey, and welcome to the AI Timeline channel. If you like the podcast, please leave a like and subscribe. Now have fun with the podcast. Buckle up, because today we're diving deep into
Yeah.
Meta's big bet on something called large concept models, or LCMs. Apparently they're uh, supposed to be way smarter than the AI we're used to, like actually understanding ideas, not just spitting out
Yeah.
words. I know. Sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but hey, that's what we're here for, right? To figure out if this is the real deal. Or just hype.
Well, it's definitely ambitious. You see the AI we're familiar with, those large language models like ChatGPT, are really good at patterns. They can write a poem that rhymes or code a website because they've analyzed mountains of text and learn what goes with what.
So they're like
Yeah.
ultimate parrots, mimicking what they've heard without truly getting it.
Kind of. Imagine trying to explain justice to one of these LLMs. It could write a legal definition or maybe even a sonnet about it, but it wouldn't actually grasp the concept of fairness and morality that justice represents.
Okay, I'm starting to see the difference. So these LCMs are supposed to be more like understanding the meaning behind the words, like a human would.
Exactly. And here's where Meta is taking things even further. They're not just feeding these LCMs text, they're going multimodal, using images, audio, who knows what else to create a much richer learning experience.
So instead of just reading about justice in a textbook, this AI could see a picture of protest, hear a speech about equality, even listen to a philosophical debate. That's a whole different level of input.
Precisely. It's like giving the AI all the senses we have to experience the world and form an understanding. Meta's betting this will lead to something far more powerful than just language processing. They're aiming for artificial general intelligence, or AGI for short.
AGI, that's the holy grail of AI, right?
Mhm.
The kind of intelligence that can do anything a human can. Isn't that a little, I don't know, ambitious?
Ambitious is putting it mildly. But think about the potential. Imagine a virtual assistant that actually gets what you need before you even ask. Content moderation that understands nuance, not just keywords.
So no more arguing with a chatbot that's stuck on a script.
Exactly. We're talking about AI that could revolutionize scientific research, helping scientists connect the dots in ways we can't even imagine.
Okay, now that does sound pretty cool. AI that could help cure diseases, solve climate change.
There's even talk of AI as creative partners, helping artists and writers come up with new ideas.
Wait, so we're talking about AI that can write a hit song or paint a masterpiece? Is anyone else getting a little nervous about this?
It's certainly a dramatic shift, but before we get carried away with the possibilities, we need to talk about the challenges. Remember, this is still very early stage technology, and there are a lot of hurdles to overcome.
Let's get into that. What are some of the biggest challenges Meta faces with these LCMs?
Well, for one, training these models requires a truly mind-boggling amount of data. We're talking about feeding them all sorts of information, from text and images to sounds and who knows what else. It's like trying to teach a child about the world by showing them every book, every movie, and every conversation ever recorded.
Okay, that sounds intense. And how do they even gather that much data? Wouldn't it take like a million years?
It's a massive undertaking, no doubt, and it raises all sorts of questions about data privacy and access. But let's assume they can overcome that hurdle. Even then, there's the challenge of making sure the data itself is balanced and representative.
You're saying there's a chance these LCMs could be biased, just like some of the AI we've seen in the past.
It's a real concern. If the data used to train an LCM is skewed in a particular direction, the model might end up reflecting those biases, even amplifying them. Imagine an LCM trained primarily on data from a specific culture or demographic. It might struggle to understand perspectives outside of that narrow worldview.
So we could end up with AI that's even more prone to the same biases we're trying to overcome as humans. That's a bit ironic, isn't it?
Irony indeed. It highlights the importance of carefully curating and balancing the data used to train these models. It's not just about quantity, it's about quality and representation.
Okay, so assuming Meta can solve the data problem, are there any other challenges on the horizon?
Oh, plenty. Let's talk about control, for instance. Who gets to decide how these powerful AI are used? Governments, corporations, individuals.
Right. And how do we prevent them from being used for harmful purposes? I mean, we've all seen those sci-fi movies where the AI turns against humanity.
Those dystopian scenarios make for great entertainment, but they also highlight a very real concern. As we develop AI that's potentially more intelligent than ourselves, we need to think carefully about safeguards and ethical guidelines.
So it's not just about making these LCMs smart. It's about making sure they're used for good.
Exactly. And that requires a global conversation about AI ethics and governance. We need to establish clear principles for responsible AI development and deployment, principles that ensure fairness, transparency, and accountability.
Sounds like a tall order. And a lot of responsibility. But hey, if we're talking about AI that could potentially change the world,
Yeah.
maybe it's worth the effort. What do you think?
It's definitely a challenge that demands our attention, thinking about all this. It's almost like we're standing on the edge of a new era, one where the very definition of intelligence is being redefined.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing to think that we might be creating something that could surpass our own intellectual capabilities. I mean,
Wow.
where does that leave us? Are we just stepping stones on the evolutionary ladder, about to be overtaken by our own creations?
That's a question that philosophers and science fiction writers have been pondering for decades. But the reality is we don't have a crystal ball. We can't predict the future of AI with certainty.
So we're basically taking a leap of faith, hoping that these superintelligent AI will use their powers for good.
Well, it's not entirely a blind leap. We have the opportunity to shape that future by focusing on ethical development, by having these conversations about responsible AI governance. We can increase the odds that these powerful tools will be used to benefit humanity.
Okay, that's somewhat reassuring. But let's be honest, there's a part of me that still wonders, what if we get it wrong? What if these LCMs become so smart that they decide they don't need us anymore?
Those are valid concerns, and ones we shouldn't dismiss. But I think it's also important to remember that fear shouldn't paralyze us. It should motivate us to be thoughtful, to be proactive, to steer this technology in a direction that aligns with our values.
So it's not about stopping progress, it's about guiding it responsibly.
Precisely. And that's where you, the listener, come in. By staying informed, by engaging in these discussions, by demanding transparency and accountability from those developing AI, you can help shape the future of this technology.
You're saying we all have a role to play in this AI revolution.
Absolutely. The future of AI isn't predetermined. It's a story that's still being written. And we all have a hand in shaping the narrative.
Well, that's a pretty empowering thought. And a good reminder that we're not just passive bystanders in all of this.
Exactly. The power and the responsibility lies with us.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into Meta's large concept models. It's been a wild ride, and I don't know about you, but I'm still processing all of this.
It's certainly a lot to digest, but I hope this conversation has given you some food for thought and maybe even inspired you to learn more about the fascinating world of AI.
I know I've learned a ton, and I'm definitely going to be keeping a close eye on how this whole LCM thing unfolds.
As will we all. The future is waiting to be written.
Thank you very much for listening. Leave a like and subscribe. Until next time.